man. So, hey, everybody. When you do these lives every week, and I have done these for 10 years, and you get to a place where you're hoping to have internet and you don't, you find a new way to make things work. So we run to the next internet, and here we are. So we are recording. We will be posting this on our team page, and excited to have people here. My speaker today, I heard for the first time when we were at the annual event, not knowing that he is the owner and founder of that company, Body Pro, that we had acquired in Zinzino. And so it's like, okay, who are these different peoples? And his story is just like so amazing. So I'm excited to share this with you guys. So I'm going to invite him on here. Hey, welcome to the call here, BK. It's good to
Carla,
have you.
thank you. Carla, you gotta give us a little bit of background on why you're standing outside of a Carl's Jr. And where are you in Denmark?
Yeah, I traveled today and landed a couple hours ago. Got to my son's place and we weren't having internet, so we had an issue and I needed to find a place. So we're out driving, coming, so that's why we're a few minutes late. But that's what happens, when you're traveling around. And right now I'm in Europe and I'm trying to find a place that's like not too windy. So I'm like getting in and I'm standing at the Carl's Jr. So
Well, I love the irony of being outside
that
of
internet.
I love the irony of being outside of a fast food restaurant talking about wellness.
Well, it's the closest spot that we knew had internet.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So, BK, I just want to hear a little bit about your story. Let's start with I know that you kind of grew up in direct sales, so you knew about this. So let's start of how you got to direct sales to start with.
Well, first off, I gotta really commend you for 10 years of doing these lives. I mean, that is a huge commitment, a great role, and an example of your leadership. And so, thank you for doing this because we are in the conversation business, and to be able to get people together and just have conversations that can help move everybody forward is a great thing that you're doing for everybody. But I got started. People ask me when I got into this business, and I tell them 9 years old. My parents got involved in Amway, and they were in it for 17 years. And I graduated high school, and my dad said Amway is the way, the truth, and the light. And I tried it for 3 years. I couldn't make any money. I was making like maybe $800 a month and living at home. So I went and got a real job, got into advertising with a Fortune 500 company and did that for 6 or 7 years, and then my parents had sold their Amway business and got involved in another network marketing company, and that's what really brought me back into the industry. So I've been in this industry for a while. I've seen a lot. I've met a lot of great people. I think what people really need to be congratulated on for being a part of this industry is that it is the true definition. I was listening to Big Al on your call last week, and he's such a legend, and he's got so much great information. For him, to be able to talk about helping people, other people get what they want, and not quite focus on getting what you want, and it just reciprocates. And so I was a distributor selling a liquid health product out of Canada, and my mother had gotten diagnosed with a brain tumor. And the wonderful thing about network marketing is I was able to spend every day with her because I was full time in the industry. And you can't really put a price on that. And then she went to heaven. And just if you think that year couldn't get any worse, 10 days before Christmas, the company we were distributors for had declared bankruptcy, and nobody was getting a paycheck. And you had a conference call with grown men crying on it. And my dad said, "Okay, kids, I raised you up. Why don't we start our own company and just focus on the good stuff about this industry and eliminate the bad stuff?" So we started. I went to church that Sunday, and the pastor talked about having a new vision for the 90s, and I said, "New Vision, what a great name for a company." And so we started a company called New Vision, selling a ionic mineral product. We still have that product in our Body Pro shop, and really did well with it. We were probably did over $1 billion in sales over 10 years, and created a sister company with a one product focus. Back in those days, People love the one product focus, my dad used to say the sun shines all the time, all day long, but until you take a magnifying glass and focus it, only then you can start a fire. And so focus in business is really important. And so we started a company called Vima, a sister company that actually got so big it acquired the New Vision company. And 10, 11 years later, we have a product called Verve, a healthy energy drink called Verve. We have a product, a liquid supplement, kind of a one a day type of a product that we did clinical studies on, and did about $700 million worth of that product. It's now called Strong OG. But here we are going along, and this is one I want to talk about the reasons I picked Zinzino. We were going along, and 10, 11 years in, doing over $200 million a year in sales, 40 countries around the world. And the FTC comes in and closes us down like we're running a drug operation. And 15, FTC officials and 15 U.S. Marshals, and I'm like going, "Hey, I'm doing the same thing I've done for 20 years," So after finally getting in front of a judge, I mean, it's pretty interesting when you are running a CEO of a $200 million company and you can't get $20 out of your ATM. That's kind of a unique feeling.
I can't imagine. I
It,
just can't imagine having to go through all of that. But I know that it's a longer story in that. But I know that you guys came out of it, and actually, that's when you decided to start Body Pro.
well, yeah, it's funny how God will give you challenges in life to stimulate your creativity.
Mhm.
And so all of a sudden you're like, okay, why is this happening? Because we weren't doing any. I mean, we had an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We had 100% money back guarantee on our products for a year. I mean, it was like there was nobody, getting hurt by what
Mhm.
they called us as a pyramid scheme. But after that, then they finally, after we got in front of a judge, they said, okay, you're not a pyramid scheme. Like, oh, okay, you've just blown up my whole company. And it's one of the big reasons why I picked Zinzino is because they are very cautious about health claims, income claims. And
Mhm.
I just, and that starts with us as partners out there in the field, is you got to protect the goose that lays the golden egg, and you've got to be really careful about underselling and over delivering on the opportunity and on the products. We don't want to be making any kind of health claims. We don't want to be
We
making.
know how crazy Zinzino does. I mean, we have people hear the stories. I know my own family has great stories. My son and there's so much happening. And it takes the work. You can make a great income, but it does take the work. So,
It.
but how did you get to Zinzino? I mean, one reason you picked Zinzino, you said, but how did you get to know about Zinzino? Where did that come from?
I had another company that if I said the name of it, you would know what the name of it was. That was after me to acquire me. And I had never really thought about it before. And it was really interesting. And then one of my old leaders in Vima Europe, Marco Passanente, just was in Scottsdale. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. He just comes by and he just says, "Hey, let's go have a drink." And then he just said, "Have you ever thought about getting acquired?" And I go, "This is so strange." I go, "I'm just now in the middle of this big conversation." And I said, "I had never thought about it before." But he goes, "Oh, before you do anything, you know how Marco gets very animated, these Italians. Um, Before you do anything, you have to have a conversation with Orion and Dag." And I thought to myself, okay, I owe it to Marco. I mean, Marco was a great leader with Vima Europe, and I owe it to him just to have the conversation. And so I had the conversation, thinking it was just obligatory, nothing was going to happen about it, and I would continue on down my path. And I have to tell you, that conversation went so well. I hung up the phone. I got off the Zoom, hung up the phone. That's how old I am. I got off the Zoom and I just went like, wow, I'm going to really have to think about completely changing the trajectory of where we were going. Because, the number one rule for a great leader is to make sure that their people are in an environment for growth.
Mhm.
And that is beyond deal points, beyond compensation plan, beyond products. It's the environment, because if you don't have a good environment, people are not going to be able to achieve what they're going to be able to achieve. And so So we began these discussions, and it just went really well. And I get along so well with Orion and Hilda and Dag. It's like I've known them for years and years and years, and I haven't even been with the company a year yet. So I'm still a
But that's
rookie.
kind of crazy. So I just want to hear those few points because you said this is why I wasn't in doubt about Zinzino. So you got along with Orion, got along with Dog, knew that they are very cautious about making sure things are legally taken care of.
Mhm.
And then beyond that, is there other things that you said this was a good thing with Zinzino?
Well, here's the thing. Synergy is important. And, I've been in the wellness business my whole life because I lost my mom to cancer and I lost my dad to heart disease. And so I have always sort of said, how do you take that pain and you can turn it into a
Mm.
passion of yours? And so I have always been, there's a lot of ways to make money out there. And people come to me with these travel deals and these insurance deals and these other deals. And I'm just like going, there's a lot of ways to make money, but you can't put a price on being able to impact a person's health, whether it's their family members, whether it's their parents, whether it's their own health. And so that has always been my hot button because I can tell a story, but to be able to impact a person's health or their family's health is something you can't really put a price on. And so that has been my passion. And so the story about the omegas, it's not a sexy story, but it's one of those stories that literally there's a half a billion people taking omegas out there and 95+% of them would fail an omega index test. And so,
Right.
the easiest place to sell something is where it's being sold. And so we're not really selling, we're just kind of switching. I was talking to a buddy of mine and he was, oh, I'm a big fan of omegas. And I said, how do you know they work? And he just looked at me like, I don't know. And I go, would you like to know if they work? And I told him about the test don't guess because, you know, the thing about this product called Strong OG, it used to be called Vima. We rebranded it because, the FTC can blow up a brand really fast. So same formula, we rebranded it. But I ran two clinical studies on that product, and we discovered that if you take it every day for 30 days, it's going to lower your C-reactive protein, your inflammation marker, by almost 30%. Within the first 2 hours of taking your first dose, it's going to increase your antioxidant level in your blood by 18%. And then it also, after 30 days, it boosts your immune system. And so we've got these clinical studies that is what I call a transference of credibility, where that newest partner feels more confident about their product because of these studies and when they're talking about. Well, this test don't guess philosophy makes everybody their own clinical study. That's what's so amazing about this whole concept. And you would think it would be widely done throughout the industry, but it's rarely
Mhm.
done throughout the industry. And so,
But don't you think that that's just saying that? I mean, I think people have said in this industry, I've heard it many times, Orion's always been ahead of the game. He's a visionary. He thinks this will be the future if we're looking at future.
he's a smart guy. He is. I've had some long conversations with him. He is a smart guy. He's a guy that you can learn some things through, and some of the things that we've talked about, I can't even share with you about his plans. I mean, he's planning the next 5 years for us while we're focused on the now. He's focused on the future, and then Doug comes in and makes it all happen. And so another big reason why I pick Zinzino is the fact that they're a public company. In our industry, there's something called MLM math, where somebody tells you something, you got to divide it by 7, and then you come up with like what could be close to a real answer. And the nice thing about being a public company is they're very open, they're very transparent, they're very accountable, and that's refreshing. And it's everybody's dream to someday have ownership in a company, to be able to be an owner of a company, and to have in their compensation plan the fact that you can earn shares and actually get equity in a company is just genius. And the fact that it's a compensation plan that's focused around customer acquisition, which
Mhm.
regulators love. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons. If you were to list the top reasons, that's got to be in the top 5. People look at Amazon and they realize very quickly it is the most successful customer acquisition model that's out there. But what they don't realize is the fact that there's behind the scenes, there's 900,000 affiliates that got paid $4 billion in affiliate bonuses
Mm.
last year. And so you take a look at Zinzino, and it's a customer acquisition model with a networking backend. And hopefully one day we're paying out $4 billion in bonuses to
Well,
people
we're
like
gonna get
us.
that. Okay. So you have, I mean, you have worked three different companies getting up to billion, I mean,
Mhm.
$1 billion in sales. So when you're looking at Zinzino, let's just talk a little bit of the future. What you see is in the future. Where do you see Zinzino going?
Well, here's the thing is they're doing things behind the scenes that we aren't privy to yet. They've got a guy named Peter Grissom that's working on a customer touch points, and to be able to take our when we bring a new customer in, to be able to take and hold their hand through their first at least 120 days of their experience with this product, things that we hope would be handled by the field, but you can't count on that because everybody's busy and distracted, and when people don't know what to say, they typically don't say anything at all. But to be able to have that kind of backfill to support our business that's going on at great expense to the company, but they're doing it to support our business. Some of the technology features, some of the AI features that I've seen that's coming out, some of them you're going to see in Oslo, will really impress you. And so, as great as things are right now with Zinzino, they're only going to get greater. And you mentioned my talk in Houston. I can see this company reaching over $1 billion within the next 3 years, and my projections were up to $3 or $4 billion. And so, um, another big reason why I picked Zinzino was the customer retention. Not only the customer acquisition focus, but the customer retention. And typically in a wellness product, if you get people to stay on your product for 2 or 3 months, you're doing a great job. This is the kind of product that you got to take for the rest of your life. And one thing in my career that I've never had the privilege of being a part of is when every AI will tell you, if you ask the question, should I be taking omega 3s? Will say absolutely yes. I
Mhm.
mean, think about that. With this, you have to go out that you're fighting an uphill battle. My doctor says I don't need that, or whatever, the question. Or I get enough from my food. I mean, that question, that obstacle, that objection, we never hear that when we're talking to people about omegas. And so, and here's our secret sauce. Our secret sauce is the fact that it's 60% omegas and 40% olive oil, and the D3, and which it really protects against the rancidity of the majority of the omega products out there. The reason the omega products aren't getting the job done, the reason that there's a 500 million people that are not going to pass an omega index test, is a big reason is rancidity of the product, because it's just fish oil. You leave a fish out for a couple days, you're going to have a problem. So that's
Okay,
another
there's
genius
so
part.
many. I know that there's so many huge reasons, and I'm glad to hear you talk about them. It's actually powerful for me to hear somebody who has built up all these other companies and says, "Okay, we got something great here," because of its long term.
Mhm.
So, since you built all this, BK, everybody that listens into this, all the partners that are out there, they want to themselves have a huge business, right? Everybody who's following along on this. And from all of your experience in your entire life, from your parents and building all these companies, if everybody who has a desire to be building this, what would be the few things that you would say this is what they need to do to grow this? Because you've done it. You've done it so many times. What would you tell people this is what we need to do?
Steve Jobs always said everything great is first, because first is small, and you don't want to underestimate small. Everybody's got to get started. Everybody's got that first step. But my dad used to tell me, he said, "Son, don't be excited about all the people you know." And the great thing, there is not a better time in our in on this planet than right now to be able to build a business like ours, because we're so connected. We used to have to write down, remember the list of having to write down the people that you know? And here you can just scroll through the people that you know. But my dad used to say, hey, don't be excited about everybody that you know. Be excited about everybody that they know and everybody that they know and everybody that they know in 50 countries around the world with Zinzino's footprint. Um, and so you take a look at attorneys, you take a look at doctors, and after years of schooling, years of education, residency, they call their businesses a practice. And they call it a practice because the more they do it, the better they get at it. And the one thing that you got to understand is you're going to screw up. You're not going to be great at this business in the beginning, but you know what? It's all part of the learning process. And you need to own that. And you need to understand that the more you do it, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the more
Mhm.
results that you're going to have. And so, one of the things that I always focus on is I'm like a customer guy. I like customers first, and I find the best people come out of customers. And the number one thing that you need to do to be able to grow a business is you got to care about people. I mean, that's
Mm.
something that you can't manufacture. You got to just
Mhm.
care about people. Um, and to be able to talk to them about and we've got some things that we're coming out with to help tell that story. Because like I started this Zoom off, we're in the conversation business. And the easier we can make it for people to have conversations about omegas and health issues and things like that, the better it is. But one of the secrets that I always have is I tell people, I said, hey, this is a shot glass I got off of Amazon. I always tell people, hey, put 3/4 of a shot of water in here and then put your oil on top of there. I actually tell them to put 3/4 of a dose of the strong OG in there, and it tastes like a creamsicle. I don't know if you guys like creamsicles, but
Okay,
but
okay.
one
What
of the
what what
things that
flavor are you putting with the strong OG? What flavor are you
well, you
putting?
know what? I had the Tutti Frutti for my kids, and I gotta tell you, it's shockingly good. I'm like, wow, that's
I
really.
agree. They when
I
they
hate, it's hard for a guy to
my
say I
favorite.
take Tutti Frutti, but I am telling you, it's really good. But the reason
Okay,
I say that, is because this formulation is so powerful, is so potent that it will burn if a person's just. And I'm talking to the marketing team about this. Is like, oh, you guys are showing the teaspoons and you're showing the shot glasses with just the oil, and that's rough because in the field, in reality, the customers are doing this going, oh my goodness. And we don't
good.
want, oh my goodness. We want, oh my goodness, is what the reaction we want. And the way we get
Mhm.
that is to be able to either put 3/4 of a shot of water in there, somebody's favorite juice, something as healthy as strong OG in there, and then put the oil on top because because if I've sold bad tasting health products and it's a tough road to
I, that,
hoe.
that's a huge thing. I know Dr. Paul has said he's worked really hard to make it so effective that it's better than anything else, all cutting edge, and that it tastes good, everything. He's worked hard on that. So
Well,
BK,
it's,
we've got
I love how these scientists think taste is good, but when you get behind the desk and you're like in the streets, that we have a different kind of a benchmark for
a
what
different
tastes good or
one.
not.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because I know it's healthy, so I can do a shot by itself, but I never do a shot by itself. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm pouring this in or I'm putting water in if I don't have that and doing the
Right,
shot
right,
because it's just more pleasant. And if we can do something as simple as that, coaching customers up on that,
right.
we're going to have a lot more retention.
Okay, well, BK, I can see my battery is going to go down low here. I just want to finish up with so what is your goal for the future? Just the last question here. What
Here,
is your
here
goal?
is here, here. I've achieved my goal. I am happy. My goal is to be happy, and I got to tell you, I am happy. Um, I am relieved because it hasn't been a year yet, but everything that I discover about this company, it actually turns out better than I thought it was.
Mm,
It typically in these honeymoon stages and the romance ends, and you discover things. It's not as good as you had hoped. But I got to tell you, Zinzino, they have done an amazing job building an environment for people to really succeed, and they're going to succeed. People are going to succeed at their own rate. You're not in a race against anybody but yourself. You set your goals, um, and you just do something every day to move towards those goals. And it might be as simple as having a couple conversations or getting, new customers started. And then you're going to find people that are going to say, hey, I want to get my product for free. And you can say, hey, let's refer a few people. 'Cause hey, nothing beats free. If anybody ever complains about the price, just say, would you like it for free? And they're like, how do I get it for free? Well, hey, give me a couple referrals and let's get your business started. And so, don't be discouraged by the size of your business right now, because that past does not determine your future. And the things that Zinzino is working on in the future is going to make you more effective and better at doing what we need to do. And so that's probably one of the most things that I'm the most excited about. But my goal is just to help create an environment that makes everybody win.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, I'm trying to let everybody unmute here. So maybe Donna can help on the other end there so that everybody is allowed to unmute themselves and say thank you, BK. It was great to have you on here. I don't have all my usual notes. So
Thank you,
That's all
thanks.
right.
Christine.
There you go.
Hey,
Thanks, everybody.
hey,
And
I
thanks for
wish
joining.
I wish I could start every morning like this.
We'll do it next time again. We'll have you on again when I'm not
All right. Well,
traveling.
hey, travel safe, guys. I appreciate the time we've spent together. Sorry about the rough start, but Carla, we finished strong. That's
We
what counts.
did. We did it. Even in the meeting. Okay. Bye, everybody.
All
See you
right.
next week. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.